Here's a fascinating, a real puzzle for you.
Okay, I'm listening.
Mortimer Adler's original Syntopicon, this massive encyclopedia indexing the 102 fundamental ideas of Western thought.
Yes.
It actually omitted the concept of equality, just left it out entirely.
Imagine that. A list of the great ideas that just skips over one of the pillars of modern justice.
But then he did a complete philosophical U-turn. Later, Adler declared equality was so essential it was one of his 6 great ideas.
And that omission and then the correction, that tells a really profound story. It's about how an idea can move from being, well, an implied social good to an absolutely non-negotiable principle.
And that's exactly our deep dive today. We're exploring why philosophers now see the equal moral worth of every person as so central to justice. Here are the most game-changing essential insights from the essay Practical Wisdom that could transform how you think and act.
And just before we dive in, we want to let you know that you're experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's Notebook LM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis.
So let's start with that non-negotiable foundation, the core principle of moral worth.
Right. The claim here is foundational. It's that all human beings, regardless of any differences, talent, status, achievement,
Anything at all.
anything, they share a common dignity and an inherent moral worth.
This is the bedrock, isn't it?
It is. This shared dignity is what we call moral equality, and it's the necessary condition that grounds all our claims to equal rights and equal respect.
So it's not based on what you achieve.
Exactly. It's based simply on being human. This goes back to thinkers like Kant, who argued every person is an end in themselves, never just a means. And if you accept that, you are then ethically required to scrutinize any system that treats people as inherently unequal.
Which is why Adler regretted leaving it out in the first place.
Yes, without that foundational belief, the entire structure of justice really just collapses.
I agree. Accepting equal moral worth is compelling. But this is where it gets difficult, right? The practical challenge, the equality of what question.
Absolutely. If we're all equal in worth, what specifically must be made equal in the world?
And that's when the debate shifts from the moral to the political.
Immediately. This is where you get all the competing theories. Philosophers start arguing over the correct currency of equality. This is about equal rights, equal resources, so everyone gets the same share.
Or equal opportunity, so everyone just starts from the same line.
And you also hear about equality of capabilities or welfare.
That can sound a bit like jargon. Can we break that down?
For sure. Think of it like trying to be fair to siblings. Equality of resources means they all get the exact same amount of money.
Simple enough.
But equality of welfare means you give them money until they're all equally happy, a much harder standard to meet.
I'll say.
And equality of capabilities, which is a very popular modern view, means ensuring they all have the real freedom, the capability to pursue a good life. Things like health, education, a political voice.
That distinction is incredibly helpful, but these are all about who gets what distributive issues. The sources also point to something else, relational equality.
And what's fascinating about relational equality is it forces us to look beyond just the fair slice of the pie.
And focus on what exactly?
On how we stand in relation to one another. Justice demands that citizens can stand as social equals. That means avoiding social relations built on domination or tyranny or stigma.
So you could have a perfect distribution of resources, but if one group is socially marginalized...
The society is not relationally equal.
Exactly. We need both fair distribution and non-dominating relationships. You know, speaking of rich content that inspires reflection, Mindful Moments, our YouTube channel, offers AI book analysis, summaries, and critiques. Definitely check it out.
Now let's connect this back to Adler's final framework in the 6 great ideas. He brings it all together by arguing that equality, along with liberty, is subordinate to the higher standard of justice.
Wait, hold on. If equality is subordinate to justice, doesn't that risk, I don't know, making it secondary?
That's the critical tension. Justice is there to resolve. Justice acts as the standard that limits both values at the same time. It limits excessive inequality because huge gaps undermine dignity.
Of course.
But, and this is crucial, it also limits forced leveling. Coercive efforts to make everyone identical in every way, because that would crush individual liberty and responsibility.
So justice is the balancing act.
It's the framework that keeps everything in its proper balance.
So what does this all mean for us today? This framework seems essential for debating real-world issues, universal basic income, tax policy, pay gaps.
Well, we are fundamentally arguing about the difference between ensuring equality of opportunity versus guaranteeing equality of resources.
It seems understanding equality requires two distinct steps then.
It does. First, you have to settle why it's a core value in the first place, the why equality question. And second, the much more difficult political step of figuring out its practical implementation, the equality of what question. That's the debate that shapes our world. And it's a debate that really never ends.
A profound distinction to remember. Click the link on screen for the in-depth book summary, subscribe, share, purchase via link, and think rationally.
See the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments. Nourish your mind on the go.